Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch.
Rob Jarrell.
And today we're going to recap this past Saturday's welterweight showcase fight between Danny Garcia and Brandon Rios. And we're also going to talk about the co-main event between David Benavidez and Ronald Gavril in a rematch. So if you guys saw the preview video, I went with Benavidez and Garcia by stoppage within the mid-late rounds. I said 8 to 10 for Rios to be stopped, and then I picked Benavidez by decision. Now, while those were the results, I was very impressed with how Benavidez went about securing his victory against Gavril and the adjustments he made from the first fight. They were beautiful. But before we get into that, I'm going to let Rob take it away. Go ahead.
Okay, so the Benavidez-Gavril fight was a rematch from a majority... No, it was a...
Split decision.
Split decision? No, it was a draw.
No, Benavidez won. But actually, I think the scorecards were wider than a lot of people thought they were, because he got dropped in the last round, and a lot of people felt that Gavril had done enough to win, but the judges gave it to Benavidez because of his work in the early rounds.
Okay, yeah, because Gavril was very sharp. You know, he seemed like he trained almost perfectly for a match that he was not expected to be very competitive in. Mm-hmm. So he really showed his pedigree. But in this rematch, Benavidez showed why he's one of the best. Well, he's no longer a prospect; he's a champion, and he is a champion, not just a prospect with a belt.
Yeah, definitely.
You can see that the 168-pound division, which has kind of been emptying out with Badu Jack moving up. Andre Ward had moved up and moved on, so they're still looking for that star. Right. Benavidez is one of the young guys in that division who has really not only showed great growth and potential, but showed that he can be a star. And after really coming out of nowhere, they moved him along very fast, and they moved him along fast, and it turned out the way people thought it would. So he came back and he really established his jab early. He had that hand speed, and he was much sharper with his punching. Not to say that he's not a sharp puncher, but you could definitely see how much sharper he was in knowing what Gavril would do, keeping him at range, and then just really overwhelming him throughout most of the match.
Yeah, and also he had excellent head movement the entire time, standing right in front of Gavril and making him miss and making him second guess some of the shots that he wanted to throw. I mean, he was standing right in front of him. He would give him different hand looks. He would move his torso just slightly and then pop, just pop him right through the guard, hit him with blistering multiple punch combinations that Gavril, even though he was doing that in the first fight, he had no answer for it this time. Every now and then Gavril would hit him with a good counter punch, but it was nowhere near the amount that he was getting off in the first fight. Benavidez used his legs when he needed to. He didn't overly move. He had everything set up like he had Gavril scouted perfectly from that first fight. And it was also, he was saying that he had the flu in the first fight, which kind of led to him slowing down, which you did see him get tired in that first fight. There was no slowdown this time. He was still landing heavy combinations, still controlling him with the jab, still very much in control in the rematch.
And it was such a big difference. And saying it again, his footwork, again, he didn't overmove, he didn't move unnecessarily, because I see that with a lot of younger fighters and even established fighters. James DeGale is one who at times overmoves and lets opponents encroach his space. Benavidez does not do that. He moves purposely, and he maintains a range that he's comfortable in. Granted, he can definitely fight on the inside. We know he can really throw, like you said, blistering combinations, but Gavril did a great job in encroaching on his space in the first fight. like stepping in with a hard jab, then following up. This time he wasn't able to do that effectively because Benavidez, aside from giving him different looks laterally, he would just take a half step back, pop the jab, or take a half step back, shoot the right.
Yeah. And for him being the youngest champion in the sport and only having 10 amateur fights, that's highly impressive. I don't know if I mentioned that again, but I probably mentioned it several more times because you don't see someone looking that good with that little bit of amateur experience and only taking up boxing maybe 4 to 5 years ago.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to what we see next from him. There's a lot of people in that 168-pound division for him to fight. You got the winner of the World Boxing Super Series, which is getting really interesting now, especially that one of the participants has been injured, and we have a pound-for-pound kickboxer who's done very well in pro boxing stepping into that semifinal match in Nikki Holskin.
And that's this weekend. If you can catch it, that is this weekend.
Yeah.
It is the last semifinal bout before they go into the finals.
Yeah, and the winner of that fights George Groves, who injured his shoulder last week beating Chris Eubank Jr.
And I will talk about that on Sunday because I want to recap all the semifinal matches.
Yes. So let's move on to the main event. Danny Garcia coming off that almost year-long layoff after losing his title to Keith Thurman. Brandon Rios coming out of retirement. He beat, what's my man's name? Aaron Herrera by stoppage in the 6th round. So this was his second fight in his comeback attempt. And in the preview video, I thought that Garcia would be too fast, too strong, and too technical to really get problems from Rios. And that's pretty much what we saw. I thought that Rios would have some spots, and he did when he got Garcia against the ropes. The only thing he really landed was that overhand right when he got Garcia to the ropes. But even Garcia had that scouted, and you saw him doing something that you see Lamont Peterson doing a lot, which is rolling off that right hand. So like if Rob is Danny Garcia and he would get to the ropes, when Brandon Rios would throw it, Garcia would roll with it and come back with a right hand. And that right hand was landing like a laser all night, even to set up the knockout. So outside of the 6th round, I don't really think Brandon Rios was in this fight. The lateral movement was excellent from Garcia. His jab was on point. We just talked about that laser right hand. He used his left hook, but it wasn't really as effective as you see it against his other opponents. I guess because that right hand was working like clockwork.
Well, this is kind of one of those fights I think Garcia needed. One, he was coming off an 11th month layoff.
Yeah.
But you don't want to go so far down the competition where you're just kind of going through the motions. That was a knock on him for a few fights where he was fighting, what's the guy who moved up like a division or two?
I know who you're talking about. Rod Salka.
Yeah, Salka, Herrera. So guys who did better or were so overmatched, it just seemed like, what are you doing? Because these aren't fights that are going to prepare you for the Keith Thurmans or Sean Porters. You want a guy who is going to provide some kind of challenge. Brandon Rios, who at 31 is shot more because of his style, still presents an interesting challenge. He never stopped coming forward.
Right.
He never stopped throwing punches, and he made Garcia work. Granted, Garcia was sharpshooting him and would hit him with that right hand.
Yeah.
But Danny Garcia wasn't so reliant on a left hook. Some guys become so reliant on one particular punch that they don't work on, or they become rusty in other facets of their game. With this, the right hand's working. I don't have to rely on the left hook. You know, you get good work in, and then in the 9th round, you knock him out.
Right. And another thing about it, Rios is one of those guys who, like I said in the preview video, he makes you work. And that's how he ends up knocking people out. He's not the strongest guy. It's just that he pushes you at a pace to make you work when you don't want to work. And he was unable to do that against Garcia. Garcia worked when he wanted to work. He threw when he wanted to throw. And he had those windows open that he could take advantage of it on the outside. And on the inside, he could either grab him, He could use lateral movement to get out of there, or he could stand and trade with him and then get out. So Rios was never able to push the pace to a point where it made Garcia uncomfortable. And then in the 9th round when he scores the knockout, it was textbook counterpunching that you're taught in the gym every day. And even Brandon Rios knew, like he almost knew when it happened that he had messed up, because he perfectly articulated that in the post-fight interview. And what happened was, now Rob's going to be Rios, so they're standing there, he throws a jab, Garcia slips, and he takes that small step to the outside with his hip, loads everything up, and comes right over, bam, straight right hand, directly over the guard. Brandon Rios saw it coming, could not do anything about it, and it was good night, because when he got up, the ref gave him a chance to get himself together. He stumbled some more. Ref said, that's it.
And Danny Garcia really took advantage of a really lazy jab. Not only throwing it, but also bringing it back. Remember, if you're going to throw that jab, throw it and bring it back, because when you don't, you get knocked out.
Case in point, if you are a coach and somebody starts getting lazy with their jab, show them the last 30 seconds of this fight. Like, you want this to be you? Because this can be you if you don't listen to what I'm trying to tell you. Because that was perfectly what happened. And Brandon Rios knows better. And it only took that one time to mess up, because he had a pretty good guard all night.
Oh, yeah.
And Garcia either punched around it or punched through it because of his hand speed. So, taking advantage of that one mistake. So, we see the ring IQ. We see the skills in Garcia. We just want the competition to match with the skill set that we see that he has.
And we know how the welterweight division looks. You still have Keith Thurman. You got Sean Porter. You have Terrence Crawford, who moved up. You still have
Errol Spence.
Jeff Horn.
Yeah. There are other names. You had Ortiz and Alexander. Even though they're not on that level, they're still
Alexander looked damn good. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah. So you got plenty of names, and those are just the ones we can just throw off the top of our head. You got some of those Eastern European guys that are coming up as well.
Is it Figueroa? Omar Figueroa is in that division.
Yeah, him and Adrian Broner, but I think they're fighting at 140.
Okay. I know he had fought a fight or two at 147. That's why I asked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because he knocked the piss out of Robert Guerrero.
Exactly. So, and he is undefeated, so it's not like he's any slouch.
Right. So yeah, there's a lot of options for that welterweight division. It's one of the hottest divisions in the sport right now, with 168, with 175, with 200, and we're starting to get some action at heavyweight as well, which is something we haven't had in a while, since Vladimir Klitschko had it by the throat for like the last 10, 12 years.
Oh, I am excited about the heavyweight division. I don't care what anyone says. It is some names, and I'll be talking about that later as well, because there are some exciting fights coming up this year that we all need to pay attention to.
Yeah. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we got plenty more coming for you this year. Hit us up on all our social networks. You can find us at Capital of Combat. Leave your thoughts on the fights down below. What you think should happen in the future for either one of the winners. Where you think the loser should go, be it retirement or some type of comeback fight. But just rap with us down in the comment section. You can rap with us in our social media. Send us any questions you have. We'll put you in the combat mailbag. And stay tuned for the revamp of the technical toolbox as well. So, like I said, Rob's got some videos on deck for y'all. Stay tuned for those. And until then, fight on.
This round one, and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire. I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage. Keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane. I told them I don't play. I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.